Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. Today we're working on my watercolor sketchbook again. This is the botanical one that I was working on, and we're doing the last entry into it. I decided to do more of an autumn kind of floral. As you can see, I did something like this similar on my Patreon, so if you're a Patreon member, go check that beautiful autumn heart that I did. I'm sure you'll love it. I really want to go over watercolor practice on how to draw these kind of daisies and paint them so they look a little realistic, but a little more, advanced technique. And then we're just going to put in some branches and some leaves and little flowers, talk about colors a little bit. This is always kind of fun to create a theme and then go with it. This whole book, as you can see, are all botanicals. I really want to just do one book that was all botanicals. Some of these I turned into prints for clients. Then we go into the spring, summer, late summer, and now we're into fall. And that was my last entry in my book. I might start going on the other side of the pages, but so I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions, leave a comment below, and let's have fun. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it out in the little blip boop right here in a second. And like I said, I showed my Patreon members how to draw a more sophisticated one. Here's the one I did for Patreon. So you can learn things like that on my Patreon that are not on YouTube. And they're longer videos. They're about an hour long. All right, so let's go over supplies. I'm going to be using my Strathmore watercolor travel journal. It's kind of hard to find, maybe because I told too many people about getting this, because it's really inexpensive and it's a great travel journal. It's really lightweight. And I love the paper. As you can see, we're continuing the series of this botanical. These are the ones I started on my own, and I have show a few tutorials in here of this one and this one. Actually, all of these, some of these, right? And we're going to continue, kind of late August one, and now we're going to do fall botanical in here. I'm only going to be using my Princeton 8 long round brush. I might use my mechanical pencil to draw in kind of where I want to put the flowers. And I have my palette, my paints, and I go over them. Water jars are up here and whatnot. So I did this tutorial for my Patreons the other day, and I want to do some similar kind of flowers for this one. You can see this is the Patreon tutorial I did of a heart with these beautiful autumn flowers, right? And I love the kind of like fall daisy here, so I thought I'd incorporate it in this tutorial for this particular travel journal. And when you get these, see how it's like stapled, well, not stapled, but it's sewn in the center. You really need to have something to hold it down. I'm going to get a clasp or a clip like this, sorry. And we'll hold it down in place where I'm going to put my painting. This one's really big, actually, but it's good enough. It'll work. I might find a smaller one. Yeah, that was a little too big. I found a tinier one. So I'm going to do a nice, simple autumn botanical here. You can kind of plan out what you want to do ahead of time and kind of draw it. And to draw that daisy, it's pretty simple. I'm going to show you with a marker here. You can start with, that was kind of a round oval, but I mean a circle, but you can start with an oval, right? And then just take your drawing tool, a pen or a pencil, curve out and do these little wiggles and pull back in. You kind of connect them, like never lifting your pen, marker off the page. See how I'm just connecting it? You can make them fatter or skinnier. That's one way of doing it. And then for shortening them, if you have, say, the center here and you want to see shortening, like the petals are folding in towards you, you kind of go like this and then have the other ones coming out like this. And then you would erase this part, like so this would be filled in with the color. And you see how you can only barely see some of that center. Right? And you do the same thing, turning this way, that way. It's just this whole up curved, curve, wiggle, wiggle. Curve, curve, wiggle, wiggle. The faster you can draw it, the more loose it will get. And then of course you just stem down. You can kind of play with the brush with the leaves. So for the colors, I'm going to mix up more autumn type colors. I'm going to be using Paynes Gray, this burnt umber. I'm actually going to use burnt umber with Paynes Gray, so I'll mix them in here so I get a deep brown. And then I'll do Paynes Gray again by itself, right? Maybe mix kind of like an orange kind of color tone. Zoom back out so you can see that. I'm sorry. Zooming in, zooming out. My new camera. Well, the phone. Make an orange. You can use orange whatever you have here. I have brilliant orange, and I'm gonna mix some burnt umber in here. I want to dull it down. I might even add some yellow to that. Still kind of bright. I don't really want this bright orange. You could dull it down with a little blue, because blue and orange are opposite, complementary colors. I could use a crimson color here. That was in that bright, deep red one you saw, that daisy from my tutorial on Patreon. And I'll add a little burnt umber to that. So I have that red color. It's kind of like a rustic red color. I could even add a little Prussian blue. So we're not doing greens at all in this. So I might start with my big old white tone daisy with a yellowish mustard center. So let's start with like just drawing a little oval here. And I don't need to draw the little petals because I'm going to indicate it with my paintbrush. So I'm really watering down the Paynes Gray, using the number 8 long round. See how wet that is, that paint? It's very wet. The consistency is like tea water. And I kind of draw with my paintbrush the same way I do with the pen. Up, wiggle. And then I go and fill it in. So zoom it in so you can see better. So I kind of just have the outline right now, and I'll just kind of take some water and I'll tap around it and fill it in. Not everywhere, because I'm going to leave some white. I might grab a little brown to mix in with this. Ooh, I don't like the edges too dark. So what you do is you tap out, take some water, and kind of just clean that up. See how I'm lifting that paint? Because I didn't like how dark it got. And I want it to be a white looking flower. So I can fill the petals in with this really pale kind of gray. Leave a little white, or I can lift up some of the color. See how I'm just kind of playing around with adding and lifting some of the color. I just bled it. This paper is pretty good. I mean, it's not like Arch paper, but it's not bad. I'll show you another way without having to draw it in too. So right now it kind of looks meh, but we're going to fix it. So another way to do it, I'll do a small one down here. I'm going to mix the brown with this Paynes Gray and see. You could just go like this. You're not going to actually draw a whole entire outline. You're just going to do some of it. So it's just kind of wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, connecting them. See, I'm going to wiggle. This might be even easier for people. Just kind of wiggling like this. See? Wiggle, wiggle, back and forth, back and forth. So the edges are kind of jagged. You can smooth them out. See? Just wiggling it and smoothing it out that way. Voila, I think I like that one better than this one. We can always fix this messy one. Yes, we can. We can do lots of things. Still very damp. And while it's very damp, you can start to add in a more deeper tone in the brown or the gray. So here's the Paynes gray right out of the tube. Here's that neutral tint. More Paynes gray. Adding a little bit of water. I always tap on paper towel with excess. And see if you just tap in the center. It's going to bleed out nicely. Ooh, is that pretty? Let's see if this is still damp. Yep. Some parts are, some parts aren't. We'll play around with that for a minute. And kind of take the tip. And whoosh, whoosh. I'll play with this a little bit. It's just one way of making kind of an intensity in the center. So we're done playing with that for now. And now we're going to work on some stems. Some kind of fun stuff. Some back out. So I'm going to use this burnt umber. Going to add a teeny bit of this Paynes gray to it. I like the rustic kind of color. And I'm just going to take my brush and go like this. Don't want to touch this because it's going to bleed, and kind of go next to that and continue it. Right? I'm going to do some crisscrossing. And then we're going to go like this. Across. And then we can put one up in the middle, kind of cross again. See, we're building our like botanical kind of scene. It'd be kind of fun to do some kind of, I would say like almost like yarrow, but you know, it's going to be this color. So you kind of put these little lines kind of out like this, really loose. Almost like Queen Anne's lace, but now it's in this tone. So you go out like that, and then you take the tip of your brush and you just do these little taps. It's a little watery, so I'm removing some of the paint and doing little taps. Look how pretty that looks. Isn't that cute? You can make like a wheat over here, this one, pointy. Just taking your brush and going like that, lifting out the paint really quickly on each side. And you have like a wheat. They're pretty, very simple. And you can play with that deep brown, grayish brown color again, which is basically neutral, Paynes gray and the burnt umber. Gotta water it down again. And I'm gonna go right up in the middle, kind of here. And even down here, I can play around with adding like a, almost like a, I saw ferns yesterday that were now yellowed. Why not make them like light brown, yellow, gray, you know, kind of contones. So you just do like a little one here. Curve over these ones. And then for the fernies, just the little lines connecting. And then for each line, you just push down. Ugh, so much watered paint. That's why I have paper towel close by. You're just doing little taps, little lines, little. You can kind of curve them. Stick up a fern. If you have painted a fern in green, we'll just paint it in brown. It kind of looks like a fern. Just a kind of a funky little stemmed leaf thingy-majiggy. And while it's still damp, you can go grab some darker brown and kind of like tap in right where the little branches meet the bigger branch and kind of down this way. And even on this one up here, take the darker brown. It's a little black. I'm going to get a little bit darker, but not blackish brown. And kind of tap underneath some of these little dots that you made. And then go back on this one, make a swipe of some darker tones. So it gives it more interest. It's not a one note. It's not a one note kind of thing. Let's make like an old dandelion, right? The sprays. I use the gray tone, grayish brown tone for this. Just crisscrossing, little stars. It's like a dandelion, kind of funky out here. And then do little crosses, little tip taps on the end. Could do even smaller ones. Woo! It's kind of fun. Have some fun with this. Like, it doesn't have to be all florals. You got the stems that are like great. You can get a little bit darker with the gray in the center. Have a little fun with that. Could add silver if you wanted to too. See, just building, building, building. Oops. And I'm up, excuse me, now I'm going to do some like berry type things. So I'll take that Paynes gray, maybe add like Prussian blue or ultramarine blue to it to make it more blue gray. And I'll go out here, kind of wiggle here and add some stems coming out. And we can add gray, little like berries. So just take your brush and wiggle it. Now these are damp and wet. Wait till they dry and we'll crisscross it with some more. You don't want to do too much at once. So when these are dry, I can come back in and go over it again. Meanwhile, back at the farm, let's do some leaves. We haven't done any leaves for this guy. Gonna use my burnt umber. And I might just push down and pull back, connect it. Push down and pull back, connect it. Push down, pull back, connect it. Look how pretty that looks. That's just one color right out of tube. Going over that one while it's dried. And then we go over this one, add some little leaves. Boom, pushing down and pulling up slowly. We have control with this brush. I'm gonna go in here and add some kind of stem sticking out here. We're kind of almost done. We don't want to fill in too much. I might do a little flower in here. Maybe a different tone, but I'm looking at the browns and the grays. Let's see this orangey kind of color. I would do like some ditzy branches with the little orange flower. So we have this one branch kind of hanging out here. Let's put some little branches off of that. See how you build a botanical? Now you could draw all this out first if you feel not confident enough just to paint it. And then I just go back in with this like orangey yellow color and just take the tip of my brush and just go wah. Just these little lines. So they make like little ditzy kind of flowers, which I've done many times on this book in the botanicals, but now I'm doing it more autumn colors, and that's the color we'll kind of use for the center of our daisy. It's just a touch right there. You don't have to go crazy for that. So for this guy now, we're going to go back in with those grays that we have. I'm going to kind of outline. See how I take my paintbrush with the tip? So we go one out, one out, one out. So you go one in the center and kind of curve around the other petals. And it gets to be more refined. You start like that. One out, one out, one out. Like just 3 lines. You could add more. See, I do the little couple ditzy ones and then some bigger ones. And then you can get a little more. You can grab just a couple of touches of some wiggle darker tones on the outer petals, like here. And then on the side, again. Maybe fill in some color more on one section. See how I'm filling this in a little bit more? Maybe because it's in the shade, in the shadow. Same thing with this one down here. On the edges, I might fill in a little more. Just on a few petals, not all of them. I go back in and add some darker tones on the side. Voila. Now for the center, we'll take our yellow, mustardy yellow kind of color. We'll fill this in, go around the circle. We'll leave a little white. See how I left white right there? Go around this oval on this one and leave some white. Now it's damp at this point. You want to add the deeper, darker value or some brown. So I'm going to go back and get my orangey color, orangey yellow color with the browns. Gotta mix some more up. I didn't mix up enough. And you just kind of tap the bottom of that. It's still very damp. See that? Tippy tap. Take that same darker value and just kind of tap the bottom of these little ditzy ones we did. So now they're kind of popping a little more. They don't have to be popped, but kind of sweet, right? This one is a little wet over here, so it bled. We're gonna have to wait this dry, so go and add another value, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute. But see how sweet that looks? Now for these leaves, you can go in with the darker tone of that burnt umber. Just kind of make a line in the center. Just a nice little simple vein. Don't have to go crazy. Let's add some different browns. Different brown leaves. Just to change it up. Go back and add. Basically that was burnt umber and Paynes gray. And whoop. That's pretty dark. You really can see that one, but that's okay. Oh, and remember the berry things we had here. We go back in and add. I'm gonna get my Paynes gray. Some more berries again. Kind of overlapping. And then add the little stems connecting to it. You can add a darker value too in the bottom of the other ones you did. Again, little stems off this one. Nothing too fancy, just some stems. Call it a day. You can get a little darker on the value with this one too. Maybe adding a little Paynes gray to it. And you get that darker brown. See, I'm just kind of grabbing it towards the flower, towards the stem. Just kind of bleeding in some color here. And same thing with the little fuzzy here. And a little darkness. Darkness. And one little there. And you can go back up here and just get some darker tones, kind of playing on that dandelion. All right, this is pretty much almost dry. So we can go back in with the dark brownish color again. I'm using the burnt umber. It's still a little wet, so I'm just gonna tap it just on the edge of that little bottom. It really pops it though, if you can see that. And just tippy tapping. Go real close so you can see. Tip toe. Goes a long way. And you can add, again, a little bit darker tone of the gray. Closer towards the center here. See how I'm just making these little dashed lines kind of coming out? And that is just going to really enhance the flower. It's going to seem a little more realistic. This yellow is still bleeding out here. It doesn't want to. I'm trying to stop it. I'm going to have to stop it like with a paper towel. Now that we'll stop it. It's so wet. I'll just go and fix it with the darker color now. It just didn't want to stop. And then I'll put that color tone out here again. Going back in here, adding the deeper value of the gray. Just like close towards the center. You see how they'll pop, and you can put a few dark ones, just little tippy taps. See how I'm going to wiggling it, I'm going around the petal here, and it's just going to enhance that flower. And look, when you pull it back, same thing, add the darker brown. See, I'm mixing the gray with the brown here. the line in here, and you kind of do the same kind of thing. You can put some darker tones on the outer leaf and get a little darker going towards the center here. See how much it's more enhanced, just like this. Don't have to do this, it's just something I like to play with. And really, and then just go back in here again, one more little pass on this side and the little lines down. It really just enhances it. So I'm going to wait till this dries, and I'm going to show you the last little final touch. Okay, so it's finally dry because it was driving me nuts that it wasn't drying. I'm going to go back in again with that gray. See, I mixed the gray here, a little bit of brown. And you're going to go right around. See, I'm doing these little tiny taps again. That center. And again, little lines coming from the center on those petals going outward. And now it's really popping. A little line here. A couple little wiggles out here of the darker tone. Maybe one going through that one. But you see how that really pops now? Just a little detail that really enhances your flowers. Makes it a lot more little realistic. You can go ahead and add, this yellow seems a little flat. I might go back and add just a little bit more of this golden yellow in here. It just pops. And since I have some up here, let's put some yellow dippy dabs over in here. Let's just move it around the paper a little bit more. And there you go. That was my botanical entree. Oops, sorry. Entrance, entree. No. Whatever. In my sketchbook here. So my theme of my sketchbook was botanicals, obviously. And I tell people, like, you know, can't figure out what to paint in a sketchbook. Paint what you have around you or have a theme. And this one was all botanicals. And as you could see, I was getting, you know, it was kind of like started kind of fallish. And then I was going into spring, summer, fall, kind of winter. There's no real colors in this one. I didn't do the red. I could go back and add this cranberry color. I could change those yellows and make them cranberry berries. I didn't even think about the red. I forgot about you. I mixed you up for no reason. But that's okay. I fix that. You know, and then you just see that red, right? Because it was looking very brownish, which is fine. Maybe add a little red flower, a little red daisy to balance it over here. Just taking my brush, just wiggling like I did this one. Little red flower here. So now your eye's going here. You can put something down there so it kind of balances out. Boop, 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 boop. See how that works? And I would just fill this flower in the same way I did the gray ones. You know, I'd wait till it dries and I'd go and enhance it. Should have a little stem connecting it. And, you know, do the same thing we did with these ones. We'll add a darker value, bleeding in the center. And then we'll go in and add the center. I might choose to make it more like a dark center instead of a yellow center. I don't know. I'll play with that. Well, so there you have it. You have I filled it in with the yellow. See, zoom in so you could see. And then zoom back out. So I hope you enjoyed this, not entry into my journal. I don't know where my brain's going, but what can I tell you? I had the thought process there. It's great to pick a theme for your journal or your watercolor sketchbook because it helps you figure out what the heck should I paint? And then you already kind of know, right? And this was botanical, and I'm kind of botanical through the seasons, actually, you know? I could have just stuck with, like, just botanicals from fall throughout the whole entire book because it's not that many pages. But, you know, I'm always doing other things, so I don't have time to always fill in this booklet. So if you have other ideas like maybe birds or still lifes or fruit, or maybe you're just doing doorways, that can be kind of cool through the seasons, you know. Take some pictures of places that you like, doorways who decorate. People who decorate really cool doorways, you know, Halloween, harvest, Christmas, Easter, all that. That can be a really cool theme. I'm giving you great ideas here. And, you know, you just take your photograph and kind of draw from there. So I hope this was helpful. It's always good to do watercolor practice. And I really wanted to show you how to really enhance some flowers to make them a little more realistic, little pop, boom, you know, get them more sophisticated instead of the typical wishy-washy flowers like I do here. Hope that was helpful. Let me know, leave a comment below if it was helpful. And if you're stuck on something, let me know. And, you know, always leave a comment if you have like specific ideas, like, hey, we need, like, you know, I'd love to do, not like your dog or, you know, your town or something, but like, could you do some more birds or more animals or something like that? I'd love to hear what people are interested in. But give me a general theme. Please do not talk about a specific type of birds or flowers because I'm not going to pick that. I have to do something that's more general for everybody because not everybody's going to want that specific thing. Definitely not dogs. Dogs are so breed specific. There's no way. Not happening. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.